The wind raced across the dry plains, carrying with it the quiet hum of another long western evening. Before we start today's story, you're watching Frontier Echoes, where forgotten tales of the Old West rise again with all their grit, danger, and unexpected twists. If you love stories of cowboys, Apaches, outlaws, heroes, and unimaginable fates, then saddle up, because today's tale will take you deeper into the frontier than ever before. Our story begins with a cowboy named Luke Hardin, a quiet man known more for his steady hands than his words. Folks around the settlement said Luke had nerves of iron and a heart made of something sturdier than steel. But what they didn't know was that Luke also carried scars no one could see. The West had taken things from him, family, friends, a sense of peace, and now he lived mostly alone, drifting between cattle jobs and long rides where only the horizon kept him company. It was early dawn when Luke rode into the thick pines near the foothills of the Sierra Madre. He was searching for a lost calf rumored to have wandered into Apache territory. Most cowboys wouldn't dare set foot there, but Luke wasn't most cowboys. His philosophy was simple: a job needed doing, so he'd do it. The air was still, the quiet so sharp it felt like the land was holding its breath. Then he heard it, the thunderous crack of metal slamming shut, followed by a roar so deep it rattled his ribs. Luke pulled the reins, listening. A second roar echoed, pained, furious, trapped. He dismounted and followed the sound through thick brush until he reached a small clearing, and froze. A massive Apache warrior, easily 6.5 feet tall, lay caught in a brutal iron bear trap. The metal jaws had clamped around his leg, cutting deep, blood seeping into the dirt. The warrior's face, painted with obsidian streaks for battle, twisted in agony. But even trapped, he radiated strength, the kind that made any sane man turn and run. Luke knew the Apache could kill him with one swing of his arm if freed, but he also knew what leaving him there would mean. A trap like that wasn't meant to let anything go alive. The giant warrior glared at him, eyes fierce, breathing hard. Luke raised his hands slowly. "I ain't here to fight," he said quietly. "You're caught bad. Let me help." The warrior growled something in Apache tongue, his hand gripping a stone knife. Luke didn't move closer. Instead, he set his rifle on the ground, deliberately, then dropped his revolver too. No weapons. Just help. For a moment, the warrior looked ready to lunge even with his injured leg. But then his expression shifted, just slightly. Pain softened the stone-hard lines on his face. Luke approached slowly, knelt, and examined the trap. It was reinforced steel, nearly impossible to pry open alone. The cowboy braced his boots in the dirt, grabbed the jaws, and strained. His muscles trembled. The iron barely budged. The warrior watched him, breathing ragged. After a moment, the man reached forward and gripped the other side. Together, with one final heave, Luke and the Apache forced the trap open. The warrior yanked his leg free and collapsed, panting heavily. Luke tore a strip of cloth from his own shirt and wrapped the wound tight to stop the bleeding. The giant warrior studied him with confusion, maybe surprise. Kindness wasn't common on the frontier, especially between cowboys and Apaches. When Luke finished binding the leg, the warrior tapped his chest. "Kita," he said. Luke nodded. "Luke Hardin." Kita looked toward the deep forest where his people lived, then pointed at Luke with an expression that suggested warning or promise. Then Kita vanished into the trees without another word. Luke returned to his ranch later that evening, thinking the encounter would be the last of it. The frontier was full of strange moments, this one would simply become another memory carried on the wind. But the next morning, everything changed. The sun had barely risen when Luke's horse stirred nervously. Dust rose on the horizon. Luke stepped outside, hand hovering near his gun, until he saw them. An entire line of Apache riders approached, their horses decorated with feathers, paint, and beadwork. At their front rode Kita, stronger looking than any man should be after such an injury. Beside him, riding a white mare, was Chief Tocho, the leader of the tribe. Luke remained still. When the Apaches stopped only a few feet from him, the chief dismounted with deliberate calm. His face was unreadable. "You saved my son," Chief Tocho said in a deep voice. "Few would have done so. For this," he paused, "our people owe you a great debt." Luke nodded once, respectful but wary. "Any man would have done the same." "No," the chief replied. "Not any man. Only a man of honor." He motioned behind him. The riders parted. A young woman stepped forward. She was dressed in a beaded doeskin dress, her dark hair braided with eagle feathers, her eyes calm yet sharp. She carried herself with the grace of someone who knew her worth. Her presence alone made Luke's pulse skip. "This is my daughter," Chief Tocho said. "Sohana. A woman of great spirit and wisdom." Luke blinked slowly. "She's very fine, sir. But why are you showing her to me?" The chief crossed his arms. "You saved my son. For this, we give you the greatest honor a man can receive." He paused. "You will marry her." Luke almost dropped his hat. "Marry? Chief, I think you misunderstand. I only freed Kita from a trap. That's all." Kita stepped forward. "You saved my life. Among my people, life debt is sacred." Sohana's eyes softened as she studied Luke, but she said nothing. The chief continued. "You treated my son as a brother. Therefore, you become family. You will join our tribe, take my daughter as your wife, and live beside us." Luke swallowed hard. His life was simple. Quiet. Alone. The idea of suddenly joining a tribe, marrying a chief's daughter, felt like stepping into another world entirely. "I appreciate the honor," he said carefully. "Truly. But I ain't Apache. I wouldn't fit in your tribe. Sohana deserves someone who understands your ways." Sohana finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "My father believes in signs. You appeared when my brother needed you most. That means something to our people." Luke met her gaze. For a moment, the world fell silent. There was something in her eyes, something calm, fierce, and beautiful in a way words couldn't touch. But he shook his head. "I can't take something so big as repayment for doing the right thing," he said. "I ain't that man." Chief Tocho studied Luke for a long time. The air grew tense. The Apache riders waited, their expressions unreadable. Finally, the chief nodded. "You are a man of humility," he said. "We honor that. But a debt remains." Luke exhaled slowly. "What can I do to settle it?" The chief stepped closer. "You will come to our village for 4 days. Eat at our fire. Speak with our people. Learn our ways. After this, if you refuse my daughter, the debt will be considered paid." Luke blinked. 4 days didn't sound unreasonable. And refusing outright now might be seen as insult, even disrespect. He had no desire to provoke Apaches. "All right," he agreed. 4 days. Sohana smiled, just a faint curl of her lips, but enough to unsettle something in Luke's chest. The tribe escorted him to their village, deep in the woods. Warriors watched him with curiosity. Children pointed. Women whispered behind their hands. He was an outsider, but respected because of Kita's life. That night, he sat beside the fire while Sohana served him food, roasted venison seasoned with herbs he couldn't name. She moved with grace, her eyes occasionally meeting his before darting away. Later, Kita sat beside Luke. "My sister is strong," he said. "Smart. She is not being forced. She chooses to accept you." Luke stared into the flames. "But she doesn't even know me." Kita shrugged. She will. If you allow it. Over the next 3 days, Luke found himself drawn into the tribe's rhythm. He watched their dances, learned their customs, helped carve wood for bow making, and joined hunts where silence carried meaning. Every moment with Sohana felt like a step into a deeper connection, her laughter, her gentle patience, her piercing intelligence. She wasn't just beautiful. She was everything the West tried to take from people: hope, steadiness, courage. On the 4th night, as the moon rose high, Sohana approached him by the riverbank. "You will leave tomorrow," she said. "Have you decided your answer?" Luke hesitated. "This life, it's different from mine." "You think I do not know that?" she asked softly. "But you ride alone. Your heart is quiet. Our tribe could give you belonging." Luke swallowed hard. "Sohana, you deserve someone who understands you fully. I don't want to take a place that ain't mine." She stepped closer, her voice a whisper carried by the river breeze. "Sometimes a place becomes yours only after you step into it." Luke's breath caught. For the first time in years, someone saw him, beyond the cowboy hat, the solitude, the scars. The next morning, the tribe gathered as the chief approached Luke. "It is time," the chief said. "Have you chosen?" Luke looked at Sohana. Her eyes were steady, unafraid, waiting, but not begging. He inhaled deeply. "Chief, your people have shown me kindness I ain't known in years. Your daughter is remarkable. Any man would be lucky to have her." He paused. "But I ain't ready for a life I can't give fully." Silence fell. The chief's eyes hardened. Kita tensed. But Sohana stepped forward. "Then let him go," she said. "A forced bond brings misery. Our ancestors teach us that the heart must walk freely." She turned to Luke and offered her hand. He took it gently. "You saved my brother," she said. "And you showed respect to my people. Go with honor, Luke Harden. The wind will always carry your name here." Luke felt something twist in his chest. Regret? Loss? Something deeper. But he nodded, mounted his horse, and rode toward the horizon. He didn't look back. Though miles stretched between him and the Apache village, the image of Sohana lingered in his mind like a flame in the dark. For the first time in years, Luke wondered if the frontier had given him something instead of taking. Maybe someday, he thought, he'd ride that way again. Maybe someday, the wind would carry him back to her. And that is the tale of the cowboy who saved a giant Apache warrior, only to be offered the chief's daughter in return. A story of choices, honor, and the heart's difficult path across the rugged landscape of the Old West. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next tale riding your way from Frontier Echoes.